All right, so such a coincidence, right? That we came back to 75.40. So we had a very weak high by 1 or 2 ticks. Didn't make a new high, and then the following day we started coming back, stopped the one-time framing up, and then at the end of the day, after the close, we came back lower into this 75.40, and then we spent the whole overnight session trading around this area. So this is the level that I had been talking for a while, because we had this couple of day balance and we left a lot of volume here. I kept saying that if we lose this area, we're gonna go back to 75.40. That's exactly what happened. And now the question is, do sellers have enough strength to test below the previous week's low? So this is an important reference to watch, 75.15, which also is pretty close to the 7,500 strike on SPX. And then from there, the structure here is kind of weak. So there is going to be some support here between the 20 moving average and the 21. And then around this low volume node, but this is pretty weak. And then the stronger magnet to the downside is here at 74.25. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy to go through this, because we have this this low volume node here. We have the moving averages. Those are places where usually we find some support. So, but if we lose this area, 74.25 is going to be the next magnet to the downside. Now, we could very easily have a day where we just balance around here and then trade around this high volume node at 75.40. And then if we get back below the previous week's low, then we do one of these look below and fail and come back to that 75.40. And same thing here. If we start moving higher, the settlement for yesterday is up here. It's at 75.71 and 3/4. This spike down here it's a sell-off that happened after the close, after the settlement. So I think there's a chance that we retest this. This is inside yesterday's value. But we have the settlement, we have the monthly, the weekly pivots. So this is a difficult area. But if we get there, I want to see us strong. I want to see strong buyers here for it to attempt to go to yesterday's value area high. Otherwise, we could see a gap to the settlement and then see sellers pushing and rejecting value and coming back to the 75.40. So this is gonna be an area to just watch the reaction, and it could be a little choppy in this area. But if we hold above yesterday's point of control, or about the 74 area, the IB from yesterday, I'm looking for a move up towards yesterday's value area high, and then the 75.96, which is the 20-day point of control. And then eventually, if shorts start getting squeezed and buyers keep at it, then repairing this weak high from a couple of days ago. Let's look at NQ. So NQ got to this low volume node and bounced right there. That's the weekly pivot, but like I mentioned yesterday, And Q still has a gap here, and it has the monthly pivot way down here. And look how far it is from the previous week's low. It's pretty far from it, but there's all this poor structure to be repaired, to be cleaned up. So, but the high is not as weak as, it's not weak at all. The high on NQ compared to ES. So those are things to notice, to watch, and also to notice how yesterday's low was not even close to the low from the previous session in comparison to ES, who was very weak and took 3 previous sessions lows. And Q did it during the overnight session, but not during RTH like ES. So those are things to keep in mind. And then in relationship to those 2-day balance, look where ES is in comparison to NQ. All right. Gold came back to the point of control, still in that balance area. Same thing with crude that attempted to move higher, didn't hold, came back to that balance area. So still in the same area. Let's see if there's another leg down, but haven't kept up with the news, so all oil's gonna be tagged to those Iran news. So let's see what else. We did have some economic releases this morning, jobless claims, and then we have some U.S. Secretary Bessent is speaking at 10, and Fed speaking at 10. Fed Daly speaking at 1:10. Trump's making an announcement at 3, and tomorrow we have NFP. So usually days before NFP gets a little choppy, a little weird, so just keep that in mind. All right, I think that's about it for today. All right, good luck.